Where it's an animal place, it's a jungle, where you have to have animal instincts to be able to survive.
Politicians are aware of the problem. The government launched a review of the entire youth justice system, headed by renowned former head teacher Charlie Taylor. And there's a parliamentary inquiry looking at the same issues.
I had one fight with one guy. He caught me in his cell, so I set about him, and it took like 6 guys and 1 screw to take me off him.
Seven years ago, this unit at Feltham Young Offenders Institution in West London was opened by the then Justice Secretary Jack Straw and former London Mayor Boris Johnson.
If an institution like this can deal with young offenders, put them back on the right track, that will save our society, save taxpayers loads of money in the long term.
It was a project aimed at cutting reoffending, but campaigners say despite promises, little has been achieved.
In Feltham, fights happen from day to day, any time of the day, from silly little things, from tobacco being stolen, towels being misplaced, simple little petty things that just want to cause inmates to have fights all the time.
Stephen is 22 and knows what it's like to be locked up with some of Britain's most violent teenagers. In 2012, he was sent to Feltham Young Offenders, a prison with a notorious reputation for violent assaults.
When I got there, I did live up to its reputation, because literally every day I was there, getting about the jail, you would see a fight immediately, just bursting out of anywhere. Fights just happen all the time in that jail, just literally all the time.
Stephen ended up in Feltham after committing his first offence at age 17. He was one of 1,500 people across England sent to prison during the London riots in 2011.
But basically it started off with just BBM messages saying it's all happening and all this stuff, and I was just interested in going to see what it was all about, really. And I went there and I got involved.
In Leeds, 23-year-old Jamie has lost count of his convictions after spending most of his teenage years in and out of police custody.
I think I've got about 42 previous convictions for stuff like robberies, burglaries, knife crime, importation of firearms and kidnap.
5 years ago, Jamie made headlines when he was arrested along with his mom for their role in a gang who were trafficking guns from the US to the UK.
Me and mum got done for importation of firearms back in 2011. But luckily for us, we only got 12-month probation, the rest of them got 25 to life in prison.
Despite his number of convictions, Jamie was not imprisoned until 2011 when he was just 18. He was sentenced to 6 weeks in HMP Doncaster for criminal damage. Doncaster prison, like many nowadays, houses both adults and young offenders together.
I had one fight with one guy, a 40-year-old Romanian guy. I took his pad remote, he caught me in his cell, so I set about him, and it took like 6 guys and 1 screw to take me off him. And then he made a racist remark, so I went back to the pad, filled the kettle up, obviously with sugar, and went to chuck it at him, and screw slammed down in my face.
The Chief Inspector of Prisons has described Doncaster as a poor institution with major concerns about safety.
Screws just sit back and watch you fight each other. Mentally disturbing, because you're in a cell for 21 hours a day, doing nothing but staring at all 4 walls.
And like all of Britain's 63 prisons for young offenders, HMP Isis in Oxfordshire, which holds over 600 young men, also has a problem with violence. Stephen was moved there from Feltham in 2012.
during my presence at Iceness, someone got stabbed in the shower right about here, and the blood was coming out everywhere. Like literally, it was just down to someone taking their burn, their tobacco basically, and just by taking that small worth of fortune, like less than £5 worth of goods, someone got stabbed and nearly died. And it was very gruesome and horrifying for me to see all the blood splurging as the person was nearly dying on the floor fainting.
Now, there are many young offenders across the country with experiences similar to Jamie and Stephen. Their stories are an example of how not to treat troubled young men. So why do we keep making the same mistakes? Imitaz has been campaigning for better treatment for young offenders since his 19-year-old nephew Zahid Mubarak was murdered by a racist cellmate in Feltham 16 years ago.
When Zahid was in Feltham Young Offenders, basically he had a 90-day sentence, and during those 90 days he was locked up by and large for 22 hours a day with a racist cellmate. You know, when you have two people in that kind of situation, there's different thoughts that go through people's minds, and you know, it may be the catalyst that made Zahid's murderer actually carry out the attack.
In the last 20 years, there have been similar incidents. According to the charity Inquest, half a dozen young men, including Zahid, have been killed in young offenders' institutions.
Young offenders, more often than not, are going to be released again back into society, and they have a whole life ahead of them. Most of these guys are locked within 4 walls. It should actually be the safest place for them.
I've got a brother that's in there doing life, maximum 16 years before parole.
Having got out of Doncaster prison himself, Jamie's now a regular visitor. His 21-year-old brother, Nathan, is there serving a life sentence for his part in a murder which left a pensioner dead in 2012.
By the time he gets out of there, I'll be 40-odd. Imagine how that feels. They'll say he's coping good, but I know for a fact he's not coping good.
Because you've been in there and you've seen what it's like.
Yeah. He don't even get support in there. He's got mental health issues. I don't think he should be in there. I think he should be in a psychiatric hospital where he will get the support he needs. How can he get support he needs in a place like that?
And with concerns about overcrowding and a shortage of staff, Stephen believes the problems with Young Offenders Institute will only get worse.
A lot of prison officers these days are young members of the public. For example, you've got like maybe a prison officer who's like 24, and the prison is 25, but these young, untrained, qualified staff have no control at all.
This video, filmed on a banned mobile phone by young offenders at HMP Worchester, shows just how chaotic the prison system can be. 2 young men in a blooded fistfight, whilst others look out for prison staff.
You're just sending them into a cage where it's an animal place. It's a jungle where you have to have animal instincts to be able to survive. And that's factual. What are they going to learn? What are they going to take away from that?
Not much, judging by the statistics. Half of young offenders will re-offend within 1 year of release. Jermaine is a former gang member who is worried about the safety of young people in our prisons.
Exploitation takes place in different formats, sexually, financially, and different things take place, but obviously it's a place where it's chaos. They don't go to jail, learn and come out. They go to jail, learn how to be a better criminal and come out and commit more crimes.
Since being released from prison, Stephen has re-offended and was put back on probation in March this year.
I recently got in trouble with fraud. Obviously, I wasn't getting any support or any help from the government. I'm not saying it was the best option, but it was making ends meet. Obviously, I've got into trouble for it. I'm attending probation for it.
Jamie's hoping his future will be different, but with his string of convictions and an unsettled family life, he tells me he's worried about reoffending. So we just arrived at your mum's house?
Yeah. My mum's ex-boyfriend's turned up.
His mum's ex-partner is injured after being attacked in a nearby street.
Well, I just want police to see what's the matter with him, because he just keeps shouting and being aggressive and he ain't even supposed to be there.
It won't happen forever. Things will change, it'll get better.
With her youngest son, Nathan, serving a life sentence in Doncaster prison, Debbie tells me she'll do all she can to keep Jamie safe. But for Nathan, she's worried about him. What worries you the most about Nathan being in a young offenders institute?
Well, that he'll get killed, basically, for what he's done, his crime he's committed.
So every day you're waking up worried?
Yeah, that I'm going to get that phone call.
There isn't a simple solution to solving the growing problems inside our prisons. A report due to be published next month by the Justice Committee will say the way in which most offenders like Jamie and Stephen are treated will not help them change.
Prison ain't helping nobody, it's just making them worse. They see themselves as a failure. They failed through the system. So they'll just go in and come back out and go in and come back out.
We asked the Ministry of Justice for an interview, as you'd expect, but they turned us down. Instead, they told us the level of violence in our prisons is unacceptable, especially violence against our hard-working and dedicated prison staff. We have resources in place to deal with violent or abusive behaviour. Any prisoners involved could face disciplinary action and be referred to the police. Serco, which runs Doncaster Prison, told us the security and safety of staff and prisoners at HMP Doncaster is always our first concern, and we have a zero-tolerance approach to violence. A couple of messages from you. This from a detective who texts to say, I work with vulnerable child victims. Maybe a few of their horrific stories will change your perspective on prisoners serving tiny sentences while playing Xbox as their victims live in misery and fear for the rest of their lives. And Cham says, terrifying and humiliating children is not the best way to stop them reoffending. Isn't that what prison is supposed to be for? To get in touch, use the hashtag #VictoriaLive. Later on in the programme, we'll talk to former young offenders, prison officers and politicians.